Good morning and welcome to Business Buzz. Coming up, oil surges past $90 a barrel after fresh attacks on tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. The central bank holds interest rates steady, its second hold this year, and reserves hit their highest level. Welcome back. We begin this morning with the real estate sector in Asaba, with particular attention to the professional side of property management, valuation, and estate practice in a market where trust, responsibility, and good judgment matter so much. Landlords, tenants, investors, and the wider market. To help us understand this side of the business better, I am joined by Eunice Agu, a fellow of the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers. Ma'am, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
It's so lovely to have you here this morning. I have a couple of questions for you looking at the real estate industry in Asaba. What would you say is the current state of the property market in Asaba, and how would you describe the activity at the moment?
Thank you so much. If I would use the layman's language, I would say that Asaba is happening.
Yes.
The property market in Asaba now is very active. There is just a lot going on. And when I say Asaba, not just Asaba as the city, the capital territory, and the environs. A whole lot is happening in the property market right now.
Okay. Now, in Asaba right now, are more people buying properties or are they renting properties? And what exactly is this buying trend?
Well, I would say a whole lot of people are buying right now. But you can only buy if you can afford to buy.
Yes.
More people are definitely renting. And the way it is, there is, excuse me, there is so much more demand over the supply that is available because there is a lot of influx into Asaba right now. So there is a high demand for properties for rentals. But nevertheless, a lot of people are also buying. People are buying for investments and all that.
Okay, which areas or estates in Asaba are currently attracting the most interest, and why are those locations so popular?
Well, the different areas attract different people. For rentals, you find people who work in the town, sometimes we'll call it the old town, so to say. They are looking for places around Nebisi Road, Direct Labor Agency, and all that area, so that proximity to workplace, proximity to market, proximity to schools. Then you have a whole lot of corporate people and those higher up. They want the core area, that's DBS Road, Okpanam Road area of Asaba, Cabinet area around the government house.
Okay.
Then find with the students because of the university in that area.
Okay, now how has rising building costs affected the kind of...
Despite the rising building costs, developments are getting better, they are more upscale, but of course, it's reflecting in the rents. Because of the rising building costs, definitely the rents are going really high. But it has not caused the quality of the developments to drop, even though sometimes on the surface it looks like they are really beautiful, but you find that there are a few things that are also substandard. Those ones are, the hidden ones the common
Okay.
man doesn't see.
Yes. Okay, what would you say is the estimated cost of
A simple house looking at, for a good one, um, between 12 and 20 million, 7 million a few years ago.
that's quite high, looking at 7 million a few years ago and now 20 million now. So what would you say when before actually buying the land?
Well, if you want to buy land, there are things that you should check. But I think first of all, you should get a professional.
Yes, yes.
You must check the title, sure that the survey plan is lodged. So you're sure that the survey plan you're having is of the place that you're being shown, because sometimes you could have a survey plan and when they check the place, it will be far away from where you're being shown.
Yes.
But if it's government land, it's actually easier. If it's a place that has a CFO, you do your search with the Ministry of Lands, and that is quite easy to do. But if it's native land, you have to go to the community, you have to get to the village, you have to get to the Diokpa or whoever is there to know whether who is selling land to you is the actual owner.
The actual owner, yes. Now, what would you say are the biggest risks or mistakes people make when buying a land or property in Asaba?
I think one of the biggest mistakes is being in a hurry. A whole lot of people have these things advertised to them and they say, oh, it's good, this is very good. Or somebody bought it last year, 1 million. Some find that they actually have nothing. You might not even have anything because you may have paid the wrong people. And then again, some people make the mistake of, because it's cheap, when you see anything that is cheap, oh, you know that you have been told that land in this area is 20 million and somebody comes with one that is for 5 million. A friend of mine nearly fell into that kind of trap.
Well, it's quite attractive from 20
It
million
was
to 5.
it was very, very attractive for her, and I told her that would not be possible. She found some other place where she paid more, and people who bought that place, eventually, it was government land. All the houses there were pulled down.
Oh my God, that's quite disheartening. How easy or difficult is it for an average worker or young person to own a home in Asaba?
How easy? It's owning a home doesn't come easy.
Yes, yes.
Just like owning most things that are of worth, they don't come easy. But it's doable. It's doable. Some people feel, oh, this is, or he wants to buy land, one of those areas. Now you could go to somewhere in Opanam where you can afford, buy the land first, although you have to be sure to have issues. So phase it. Somebody who is just starting off should not be thinking money, buy land. You have saved another one. You design, then of course you start building. You do the foundation, come out from the foundation, save again. You take it to the roof level, save again. You roof it, and before you know it, I think the person will be done. But it's better if it's phased. It's good to start off because that place you're buying, you may think it's not your ideal location, will definitely appreciate in value if somewhere along the line you decide you no longer want it.
Very wonderful point to go. What role do the banks or cooperatives and mortgage give? What options do they give? What are they currently playing out in helping people to buy?
They have really done a lot. And of course, the cooperatives, mostly for people who are civil servants, there is a lot they have been doing and are still doing. And the Delta State government is also rolling out some more incentives for civil servants, though. You have the National Housing Fund, you have some funds. I think there was a time they had some arrangements with Lafenax or so. They could actually your level in the civil service.
Okay, now looking at Asaba, how does Asaba compare with places like Warri, Ughelli, and Sapele in terms of property growth and demand?
Well, growth is much more from across the Niger. You have people who are businessmen in Onitsha who want a quiet place where they can lay their heads. A lot of them are actually in Asaba. And you also have a lot of people, even people from Delta State, some of them from the riverine areas, areas where there is flooding. They decide to make their homes in Asaba and now visit their places because some have had homes that were pulled down or the flood. Definitely worries that they not to compare with Asaba. There is growth everywhere, but not to compare with Asaba right now.
Now, for someone planning to work in real estate or property valuation, what should they understand first about the Asaba market?
Differentiate between the estate surveyors and valuers and the agents, because you find that in the Asaba market right now, we have a whole lot of agents. Almost everybody is an agent.
Yes.
Everybody is selling land, everybody is marketing one thing or the other. And then there is a whole lot going on in real estate. There is a lot of the good, the bad, the ugly. And for somebody who wants to go in, it depends on what you want to do. I would advise you go through the right routes, get properly trained through the institutions. There are institutions that train people for this. To the university, you would have been tutored for a few years until you get licensed after taking some exams and you get registered. Of course, our registration is backed by the Nigerian law. And you find that when you're trained that way, you operate very differently from the man who has looked for what to do. Looks like this is not working, this is not working. They say agency is the place and he jumps in. Those are the people who get their fingers burnt and whose clients also get their fingers burnt. So proper training, just like any other thing.
Love to have you here with us once again.
Thank you very much for having me. I'll be available anytime you ask me.
Oh, thank you so much. So now, well, we're going on a short break, and when we come back, an interview on the capital startup for young Nigerians.
Recall that 46 pupils, teachers, and the school principal were kidnapped on May 15.
You are saying you are the chief security officer, but he doesn't have the power to control the call on the commissioner of police.
The government has to step in to ensure that they get the proper mental health care, even if it means some sort of relocation from that particular community to somewhere
That's
else.
a possibility.
Yes.
Where are we headed as a country if our children are this-traumatized from childhood?
When the chips are down, you'll find out that women are able to expand.
Your Voice Africa, showing every Wednesday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Dott Television.
Only humility will lead us to unity, and unity will lead us to peace.
Go to the market and sell your products.
From Harrison. That is a massive world record. Martinelli goes, boys, out of his goal. Martinelli, could be in here. This will be 3 for Arsenal.
Dott Entertainment, your weekly dose of pure fun, airing every Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday.
Welcome back. Now to a story for young entrepreneurs. For years, one problem has held back Nigerian small business across its access to money. More than 90% of our micro, small, and medium enterprises are built around one person: the tailor, the caterer, the mechanic, the young farmer, and most of them have never qualified for a bank loan. This is because banks ask for collateral, audited accounts, and paperwork that early-stage founders simply do not have. This week, the federal government's new Youth Creed scheme promised to change that, offering loans of up to 2 million naira based on repayment behavior rather than assets. But here's the real question. Is credit alone enough to build a thriving business? And how do young entrepreneurs turn a loan into lasting growth without falling into a debt trap? To help us make sense of all this, I am joined by finance analyst and lecturer David Akau. Mr. David Akau, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's wonderful to have you once again here with us today.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Okay, in Nigeria today.
Of course, and so it's an issue since so to say, for banks to give such people loans.
Okay. Why do you think so many micro, small, and medium enterprises still struggle to access loans? Like you have said, it's because of so many things, it's difficult. But what exactly is the main reason?
One of the basic reasons, the business closes and it becomes a bad loan to the bank. So businesses have to look at other means, which includes, of course, looking up to the government to render the assistance in any way.
Audited accounts and paperwork for early stage business owners.
It's a serious one because your audited accounts kind of show how you're faring. It shows whether you have the capacity, which is one of the 3 C's they use in appraising you. If you don't have an audited account, then they cannot rely on any document you are presenting. Also, the individual dependent on what you already have. So if what you have is not good enough, banks will not be willing to give it to you.
Okay, what do you think of that scheme?
Beautiful. Beautiful. So that people can access. I just pray that the policy will such a way that it will be spread over time in such a way that they can be able to afford to pay back.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Do you think a loan of up to 2 million naira, which is what they're talking about
Yes.
in Ukraine, do you think that money alone is enough to meaningfully grow a small business?
Just as you call it, that must be a micro business in today's economy. And so, well, you make do with what you have and begin to grow from there. They said the journey of 1,000 miles begins from a step. So if you take that step and you start growing, there are other means. Once you have shown that you have the technical know-how, you have the resilience, you can do well, there are other means to raise funds. So this is like helping small business to at least hit the ground running. By the time they start hitting the ground running, there are other organizations that even give grants. So they can now start saying, okay, this is what we've done so far. Please, I think what the government is doing is just to give you a basis to hit the ground running.
Oh, that's wonderful on the part of the federal government. Yeah. Now, how important is repayment behavior compared to assets when deciding who should get credit?
Yes. Assets. You don't expect the micro business, the small businessman to have enough assets. Basis of appraisal should be the character of the person. Can this person pay? That's one. Can is capacity. Will this person pay is another.
Is another thing, yes.
Yes. So if you look at those 2 things, you should be able to look at the character of the person. And if the character of the person shows that this person can pay, I believe government should have an appraisal process to ensure that those 2 things, those 2 elements are put in place and they give you your money.
Okay. Now, can assets to credits alone build a thriving business, or are there other things young entrepreneurs need more urgently?
Other than assets?
Yes.
First of all, it depends on what you have up here to present. There are some and so when you bring it out, you will make money. You don't need so much of physical assets to make things happen. As long as you are creative, you are innovative inside here. And that's why I said it depends on what you are presenting. If you are just doing a trade, you have some level of creativity. You can even make money without having a lot of property, plants, and equipment around.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, for young entrepreneurs, when after receiving a loan, what do you think is the biggest mistake they make?
It's to begin to spend the money on physical assets.
Okay.
And to divert that fund. Those are the 2 great mistakes that they make.
Sorry, sir. When you mean physical assets, can you break that down for us?
Okay. Well, you want to maybe say, I could buy a small vehicle of 500,000. Let me see how I can move around with it. No, not with a borrowed fund. Like chairs. No. It's okay. I want to go into trading, for example. I use it to buy the product and start trading. If you don't have a place, go online and trade online so that you will be able to, turn around that fund and be able to repay.
Okay, I think that's one of the perfect way a young entrepreneur read growth after a short-term survival.
That's true. First of all, before you access a loan, do what we call visibility study.
Okay.
Know what you want to go into. Put it down on paper. Do a projection. Be very sure that this projection is realistic. Aha. Then when the money comes, you will have a direction. The issue is, oh, just give me money. I know what I will do. I know what I will do. It's in your head. What is in your head might be mystical, might not be real. So it is only when you have put it down on paper, you have done a realistic projection, then you are sure that you have a business in the first place before you go for funds.
Okay. Now, for a business that's running into a debt trap, business that's running into a debt trap, what do you think are the signs?
Okay, I would like to get the question. Can you?
Okay, for example, you started a business, you've required a loan. You're noticing that instead of you having profits,
Okay.
you're falling into debts.
Most of the time, you start with a debt because you have running costs that are fixed. These running costs are actually fixed. So whether you sell so much or you sell less, you must expend in that direction. So most times businesses that are starting newly, they face initial losses. But as they grow, they break even and surmount that level. So for every business that is facing an initial debt, does not mean that they are doing badly.
Okay.
It is probably there is a mismanagement of fund. You are not prioritizing what you are supposed to do first, because people at times just see a particular, maybe you are selling a product for 10,000 naira and the cost is 5,000 naira. 5,000, you discover that no, that product you bought for 5,000, you transported yourself to that place, but because you brought it out of pocket, you feel that it's a profit. So when there's no more money in your pocket, personal money, and you just discover that, oh, you've run the business down.
Oh, yes. Now, for young entrepreneurs, what would be your advice to them when they go out to take business loans?
As I said, the first thing they should do is to sit down and do a visibility study. Be sure of what they are going for. Because if you take a loan and you can't repay it, number one, your name is tarnished. So do a visibility study. Be very sure that what I'm about to go into is a realistic business. Don't just say everybody is going into it, especially for people that will just look at an area and say, everybody's selling pure water and they're making money, so let me start selling pure water. You might be the 11th person that will not make money.
Oh, yes. Now, what do you think the government and financial institutions should do?
But give them grants. We have wonderful, dynamic people that have wonderful talents in Nigeria. I've seen some of them and loan. And if you give them, it will take some time. It's innovative. You create something. It will take time for people to see you. You build goodwill for people to start patronizing you. So those people need grants.
Okay. Now, in your view, what will determine whether schemes like this scheme that's happening right now, the Youth Creed program, what will determine whether it will become a real turning point for young entrepreneurs in Nigeria?
Sincerity on the part of those giving out the loan, that's the borrowers, and that's the government now, and the people borrowing the money too. I mean, those giving out the money, lending the money, the lenders and the borrowers.
Okay.
Yes, because if you give out money, appraise the person rightly. There are many people that need money. If you give them money now, they'll just go and solve family problems. They will tell you they want to do, that means the borrower must appraise them. You should collect and do exactly what they have pitched to the lenders. That's the government now as it is.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. David Kaun, for your wonderful time today. It's so lovely to have you here once again.
Thank you very much.
About this business, startup capital for young entrepreneurs.
Thank you very
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
So we'll go on another short break, and when we return, more business buzz.
Okay.
And only on Dott TV.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak. Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
In the heart of Asaba, where the street tells the stories every single day.
From the corridors of powers to the decisions shaping governance and politics in Delta and Nigeria.
From traders counting every naira to families battling rising costs and uncertain times.
From football pitches to sporting successes to the major developments making the headlines all over the world.
And from the untold human stories, the struggles, victories, resilience, and hope of the everyday Nigerians.
This is the news beyond the headlines. Dott TV News are your trusted window to stories that truly matter to the people. Here, we don't just report events, we tell the human stories behind them.
Welcome back. Now to the story moving every market this morning. Global oil prices have climbed above $90 per barrel after fresh attacks on tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. A Kuwaiti-owned product tanker was struck by an unidentified projectile near Oman and its crew abandoned ship. Iran's Revolutionary Guard says 2 further tankers caught fire after explosions in the waterway. For Nigeria, higher crude means stronger export earnings, but it also means costlier imported fuel and more pressure on prices at home. Now to monetary policy, where the central bank has retained its benchmark interest rate at 26.5%, the second hold this year, citing renewed hostilities in the Middle East. For households, the message is patience. Headline inflation in Cardoso says the bank is still targeting. The bank says its 2 years of monetary tightening are beginning to bear fruit, and that closer cooperation between fiscal and monetary authorities will be critical. We'll go on a break now, and when we return, there's good news for the markets. Welcome back. Now to a fresh good news on the buffers. Nigeria's external reserves have crossed $52 billion. That surpasses the central bank's own forecast for the whole of this year, which stood at just over $51 billion. Analysts credit rising oil output and higher crude prices alongside stronger portfolio inflows and improving export performance. The reserve position, worth around 11 months of import cover, gives Nigeria a firmer external buffer, though it remains tied to the fortunes of oil. So what does this rate decision mean going forward? Economists expect the central bank to keep rates on hold until Nigeria's election cycle draws closer to an end, prioritizing inflation and exchange rate stability after the 2027 elections, reversing earlier bets on easing this year. For borrowers and businesses, higher financing costs are likely to persist. Policymakers want firm evidence that this inflation is durable and that reserves and the naira stay stable before they loosen their grip. Now to a regulatory question rattling Nigeria's biggest banks. The central bank has released a draft rulebook governing how financial holding companies, groups like Access, FBN Holdings, and Guarantee Trust Company structure their subsidiaries. There is an issue of a legal cap limiting a bank's equity in foreign subsidiaries to 10% of its funds. If the bank applies that cap at the holding company level, some groups could be forced into distressed sales for foreign assets. Commentators are urging the regulator to clarify the rules and allow a phased transition, warning that rushed deadlines rarely produce better capitalized banks. It's time now for another break. When we come back, we'll look at the Nigerian economy. Welcome back. Now to the economy and a story closer to home. Fuel marketers have resumed holding petrol and diesel from private depot. Depot prices rose again on Naira per litre. Behind the volatility is the Dangote refinery's shift to dollar-dominated fuel sales, which continues to ripple through depot prices nationwide, with consumers bearing the burden at the pump. Moving on to the upstream sector, where Nigeria has closed out its licensing round. The upstream regulator has declared 31 companies winners of 37 oil and gas blocks under the 2025 round. It also states that winners must pay signature bonuses and meet post-award conditions within 90 days or forfeit the assets to reserve bidders. The regulator says the process withstood sustained pressure and threats and insists the era of discretionary block allocation is over. But there's a harder truth beneath those numbers. Investors refused to bid for 13 oil blocks in Nigeria's frontier basins, including 3 in the Chad Basin and 6 in parts of the Niger Delta. Those blocks now return to the licensing basket. This comes almost 4 years after the government announced a 1 billion barrel discovery at Komani in the north, alongside a proposed $3 billion investment, a refinery, and a fertilizer plant. Nearly 4 years on, none of those projects has been completed, and commercial production has yet to begin. Analysts say investors are steering capital toward proven fields and away from high-risk, on-site frontier packages. Now to a stark warning on the shape of Nigeria's economy. The economist Doyin Salami says the richest 1% of Nigerians now control 44% of the country's wealth, up sharply from about 25% 2 decades ago. He warned that federal revenue worth around $72 billion in 2011 had fallen to roughly $16 to $17 billion last year, once converted at prevailing exchange rates. Salami argued that only private capital, faster industrialization, and job creation, not government spending alone, can deliver inclusive growth. It's time now for one more break. More business buzz still ahead. Welcome back. Now, let's dive into the latest results from a company driving the economy. Unilever Nigeria has raised its interim dividend fourfold, paying 2 naira per share, 4 times last year's payout. Half-year profit after tax rose 8.3% to 15.6 billion naira, a record for the period, even as revenue climbed more than 22%. The consumer goods maker has been increasing local sourcing to shield itself from exchange rate volatility, a strategy other manufacturers are watching closely. For ordinary Nigerians, the key question is whether these stronger profits and higher dividends will eventually translate into more profitable products on the shelves and more stable goods, stable jobs in the real economy. Now to technology, where payments giant OPay has unveiled the infrastructure behind its platform, reporting a transaction success rate of 99.9%, and has set out an ambition to reach 1 billion users globally. This is a bold target and a signal of how far Nigerian fintech now aims beyond its home markets. And finally, to the wider continent. The Democratic Republic of Congo will begin enforcing a long-delayed rule requiring mining companies to hand 10% of their equity to Congolese nationals from the 31st of July. Congo is the world's top cobalt producer and second largest copper producer, and some of the biggest global miners have raised concerns about the rule's impacts. It reflects a wider trend as commodity prices surge and African nations seeking a bigger share of their mineral wealth. Meanwhile, in South Africa, inflation rose to 5% in June, up from 4.5%, threatening expectations of an interest rate hike as the Hormuz disruption lifts energy and imports costs. This is all we have for you today on Business Buzz. I am Louisa Asidi. Thank you for watching.